Okay, so it's not really a video I want to make, but Shimano has finally admitted to messing up. And it has to do with their cranks. You've probably seen it in the news. But I want to go in a little bit of detail why I think this is important. Because I think there's a little more to this than what's at the face value. Obviously, there's a CPSC warning, and here's the official recall from Shimano. This has been going on since over 10 years now, actually over 12 years. They stopped making these cranks 2 years ago, and they're finally doing the recall. They made the cranks that they were in the recall for about 10 years, and there's 4,500 some odd reports. There's only a handful of reported injuries. Now remember, those are only the reported numbers, the official report numbers that Shimano is presenting to the CPSC or were complaints directly to the CPSC. Also, remember, these recalls, which are for the CPSC in the United States, and there's another organization in Canada, I can't remember the name right now, accounts for almost 750,000 parts. That is only for the United States and Canada, not the rest of the world. So we're looking at probably, I guess it'd be 3 to 5 million probably worldwide. United States is a big market, but we're not the biggest market. China's another huge market, as is Japan, all of Europe, through the Middle East, so forth and so on. And these component groups are definitely the higher end ones that most of these people in these wealthier countries that would want. Okay, why is this important? This really feels like Shimano. Okay, let me back up. My opinion, my anecdotal opinion, from what I've seen, from what I've heard, and from what I know from other recalls and other companies. This feels like Shimano got word that CPSC was officially investigating this issue, and instead of getting told to do this, they decided to do this up front. If they do that, it allows them to do a couple things differently. It allows them to set more of the terms of the recall. And in this case, it's definitely not a system-wide recall or a part-wide recall. It is only upon inspection. Well, I don't disagree with that in a lot of terms. I think doing inspections for parts that are inspectable before they fail is a great way. And yes, they are going to find some parts that are obviously showing signs of separation, and they're going to replace them, and they're going to do that, obviously. But I also know a couple of instances, unfortunately I'm not going to be able to refine them, it's anecdotal evidence from other friends and people I know who have owned these, where people are meticulously reviewing these, pro teams, and other people I know who are just very meticulous about their stuff, have received parts, used parts, inspected parts because they saw this happening on other people's bikes and online and social media, continue to inspect their parts, and then have them literally fail the very next day. So obviously the failure we're talking about is the crank arm debonding off the arm. It's two shells that come together, it has an epoxy or glue of some sort, or some other process that holds them together. I don't know, Shimano won't say, but from what I've seen, it definitely looks like some sort of glue holding everything together. So if you inspect a part and it could fail the very next day, would an inspection at a shop help you actually identify if this part is going to fail or not? In my opinion, not really. I also think the reported instances of this are very low, and it probably actually will go up significantly underneath this warranty recall. But because they did a warranty recall, they're going to be protected by this, by the recall itself, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Like I said, I'm not going to argue with the process on this. I think the recall process is, for the most part, a very well-defined process, especially once you get CPSC involved. There's definitely governmental oversight, for better or for worse. They're doing it official, and thumbs up for that. But like I said, it really feels like they're just trying to cover their tracks and catch up versus trying to lead and be forthcoming with the issue and trying to actually drill into exactly who, what, when, where, and why something failed. Shimano has a very good serialization system on their cranks, and most of their parts, I don't know if you ever saw the batches that were included. It's basically every single one of those cranks from those generations is included. Not every single one, but it's a significant portion of it. You'd think they'd probably be able to drill on down even further to figure out exactly which cranks do or do not have the problem. Most likely, if this is not a systemic engineering failure, which they should be recalling or replacing all of them, it is a batch-to-batch issue. If it's a batch-to-batch issue, they should be able to track that down quickly and efficiently. They've had 12 years to do it at this point. I know a lot of this is a hot take, and this, like I said, this is all my opinion. This is all my take on what's happening right now with this. I'm not trying to bash Shimano. They do make good stuff. They are the industry leader in components in the world for a good reason. I do like SRAM. I will acknowledge on a channel. I've ridden many Shimano parts. I actually had the recalled group. I had success with the recall group. I didn't have any issues with it. And I'm a big guy. I crank a lot of watts at low RPMs. So if anyone's going to delaminate a crank, it's probably going to be me because I'm putting a lot more twisting forces on those cranks than the average individual. So obviously not all these cranks have an issue. But when I saw the failure coming up, it's definitely something I thought about. Like, am I going to be able to continue to ride these cranks that I have that had stages power meters on either side? So it was north of $1,000. Even Shimano has $1,200 units, the Durace power meter version, in which are being recalled. Now, if you had the Shimano power meter version, obviously you're going to be protected by Shimano's warranty. I wasn't as protected by Stages, which is 1 year, yada, 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 whatever. That was my choice. But it's something that actually brought up as a concern for me. I rode them thousands and thousands and thousands of miles before. I eventually sold them off to someone else without any worries, considering what I had put them through. So, point of this, Shimano has also had other warranty claims in the past, which have been not great. They did do a full recall on them, although different ways. There was a particular cantilever brake issue a long time ago with the cantilever springs. The difference with that, though, is that failure, all it did was cause the brake to rub lightly. It was not dangerous. It would have been unpleasant. It caused wear in the system, but it wasn't putting anyone in grave danger. A crank delaminating off itself suddenly, like it has in a Pro Tour and for multiple other people. So you can argue about that if you want in the comments about how they were delaminated and how they weren't properly inspected. Pro Tour teams are inspecting them. People I know who had issues were inspecting them. And other evidences of people who were clearly worried about it were inspecting them and still had issues. Once again, anecdotal people I don't have direct experience with, but you gotta take what you got. This is a serious issue. I guarantee you people have been injured in other countries, and most cyclists will chalk it up to poor maintenance. It was my fault. I had a wreck before. That's what caused it. Cyclists for the most part actually are pretty generous to the companies. We know we're basically driving, supercars of the bicycle world, and, supercars have some issues too. So when we see something break or fail, that happens. I'll actually be making another video very soon about something. I had something fail that I chalked up to me, as me being the fault, not the manufacturer. And then later on, the manufacturer came out and explained that yes, the part was defective, and I actually was able to go through the warranty claims. So hopefully these people who had warranties from the past or broken parts from the past are able to also do these warranties, but they probably don't have the parts, just like I was. I was very fortunate that the company was able to get me a new part. There's lots of issues as well with that. We'll go into that later. They're not going to get out of that scot clean. Unfortunately, another bad warranty process issue. Also, once again, filed with CPSC and everything else. I do believe they were ahead of it more than what I believe Shimano was in this particular case, because they were still manufacturing the part and it wasn't a ton of failures. I just feel like Shimano has on more than one occasion been fairly less than honest on warranty processes. I kind of want to put that out there. Flame me if you want. Like I said, put comments in below. I will choose to or not to counter some of them. I'll probably do some comments so I don't have some stupid thing on my comment, uncommented, unreplied comments. Still a fairly small channel. If you do like this video, please like it. If you don't like the video, unfortunately, if you don't want to like it, dislike it. Subscribe if you like content like this. I have a lot of bicycle content. I have a lot of industry experience. So like I said, a lot of this actually comes from an industry experience that people I've dealt with in the past. Shimano has dealt with warranties in different levels. I think this is one of the gravest warranty issues where people I think are actually at the most vulnerable of one of the most vulnerable moments. Crank snapping under a load. is not great. They had catastrophic wheel failure a couple years ago as well. I'm not going into that. I don't have any personal experience with those products, with those wheel products, or know anyone who had issues with them. They may have even been race-only wheels for all I know. So things that, once again, kind of going back to that, you have to look at things the way they are. Race teams, once again, could have been a race spec crank, but there's also plenty of non-race spec cranks that were claimed. In fact, all the claims are non-race spec cranks because race teams are not allowed to claim warranties like that because they are racing. Warranty excluded, thanks. Yeah, I know, like I said, this whole video feels like a hot take. Once again, like, dislike, whatever you want. Subscribe if you like what I'm doing. Genuinely, I'm trying to make sure people actually get this information. I will link the documents from both Shimano and CPSC below. You can read them for yourselves. Hopefully they get updated at the time as they get stuff in and they show how many cranks have or have not failed, and we can get a better clue. Now that CPSC is involved, I believe there will be some oversight on how this is being handled. I hope so, but there's lots of warranties and there's not a lot of people in CPSC. I'm sure there's a lot of holes in the system. Yeah, until then, just ride. Next time.